You're correct.
Correct.
And I don't know that, I've had 3 national firms reach out to our office, and I forwarded those on to Chantel of people to forward those on to.
Yep. Okay.
And those are large, like accounting firms and stuff. So I think that's probably the direction that we'll be, I'm sure that they'll be pushing us towards, or regulatory affairs and stuff like that. There's those big accounting firms that kind of specialize in those, so.
Accounting firms that generally have legal presence within their firm, and
Yeah.
then I think there's just the opposite, legal firms that have some accounting presence and
And I think
that specialize.
the way that this was written, at least the way I read it, is it's broad enough to allow us to award to multiple firms if necessary, say one for the strategic planning aspect and one for the accountancy aspect. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, it's quite open at this point,
Okay.
where you all would be able to view the responses that come in and then make the decision on how best to move forward.
My only question, Joe, you had mentioned changing some of these things to Oklahoma law. There were several of them that I kind of questioned similarly, because it says that, it just says Oklahoma law, and it doesn't really talk about, I mean, like regulatory compliance expertise, including identification of authorized uses of the ARPA funds relative to Oklahoma law. I would think that, are we just assuming that the ARPA is going to be under federal?
That is the
law?
assumption, but
Okay.
we've
that's
made
fine.
a few points to
That's fine.
outline federal, but we can add that there too.
No, I think that's fine.
We want to eliminate as much confusion as possible.
Well, first, it has to be permissible under federal law, and then it has to be permissible under Oklahoma law. And I think that's the reason that I was trying to get both of those areas covered.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm ready with a couple minor edits there, ready to go. You want to shoot for a bid opening on the 20th? Give us a few more days to allow Chantel to make some phone calls and,
Yeah, that's, I mean, at this point, we're kind of, you're my biggest worry here. You and the abilities of, not the abilities of your staff that are a problem, just
Right.
you guys are kind of overburdened right now. I don't want to create more of an issue for you and create issues down the line. So while we can sit up here and talk about a date and what's going to be best, what we think is, why don't you just tell us?
I think opening on the 20th is a great idea. I know that to move as quickly as reasonable is the objective, and there may be, because of a XXX bid we have, we're looking at possibly doing a special BOCC meeting on September 27th. That is very early. That was a conversation today, so we still need to get with the clerk's office and talk about that. And that may provide a potential date to discuss, evaluate, award prior to an October 4th meeting, which is your next regularly scheduled meeting. So I would support an opening of the 20th, if that sounds okay to you guys.
Again, I'm fine with whatever you need.
Well, I'm not sure when the next deadline is that we're faced with.
October
October,
31st is
November.
the next
Yeah.
report. But
Okay.
when you got zeros,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Miles and I think 0 is pretty easy, but maybe we're wrong, Miles.
It's, yeah.
Um,
The zeros are not difficult at all. And then the other issue of, I think where a lot of the confusion lied was the development of our plans. And there has been no public discussion about any development of plans on what the funds would be used for or could be used for. Therefore, there's nothing to report
Correct.
on that. So if you want the 20th sounds great.
Let's do it.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah,
Or do we want to act on this one or the next
well, what exactly is the next one?
one? Thank you.
The next item, I was asked to put this item on for discussion if we wanted to seek any engagement for the selection of. And this came from the District 2's office, that perhaps we could reach out to bond counsel and to see if, I believe that the impression was they're already doing these types of services. I haven't looked into it very closely, but that would generate some discussion for you all to, that's on the next item.
I know that Jared Davidson was who Taylor was recommending, because he's has counseled other entities in like manner.
For a selection of a consultant, I believe.
Right, exactly,
Was
yeah.
the,
Nothing with
Well, let's finish
item 2 would preclude
item 1. right?
item
Yeah.
3. Anybody that would be interested in item 3 could enter in a bid to the RFP, correct?
no. You would not be able to serve as
Maybe I'm not seeing
consultant
it
to
right.
select
No, no.
and bid. It would have to be two separate parties. You could not bid and then engage in assisting the county to select. So number 3 is in reference to hiring someone to assist the county in evaluating the responses and making recommendation on whom to select.
Yeah, that's your job and our job. Okay.
I believe the idea came from how the retirement board has hired outside engagement through that process.
No
I believe
offense to
that.
the
Chair,
retirement
let's-
board, but they
if you don't
have
mind,
done so well with that.
let's do away with number 2 first.
Yep.
Okay. So I would make a motion that with the couple of edits I discussed, that we authorize the purchasing agent to put this on the street as soon as possible. And I believe she said that would be Wednesday with a deadline of September 20. Is that
Yes.
correct? To respond?
Yes.
Okay. And then you'll advise the chairman's office as to whether or not a future special meeting would be necessary. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay. That's my motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Motion clearly passes. There will be a recommendation. You'll see that that gets on,
No, she's just going out.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Item number 3 is the discussion and possible action regarding engaging assistance for the request for proposal for the selection of a consultant to advise Oklahoma County on administration and management of federal funds through the U.S. Treasury American Rescue Plan. So I didn't read that as you had just,
Engaging assistance is not fully defined. That would be up to the board on what level of assistance you felt would be needed. But it was modeled after the item that the retirement board considered for their process.
so explain to me the steps of item 2. So you're going to do an RFP, you're going to get those back. You're going to evaluate those, and then you're going to come to whom? Us? Or are you going to
Yes.
BOCC, or are you going where?
Well, I believe I would start here with this committee.
Okay? To which we would
With
evaluate
discussion.
your
Recommendation.
Correct.
recommendations.
And after discussion, the board could then make a recommendation. I would take that to the BOCC and present all those things to the BOCC for their consideration of award.
And at any point between now and a BOCC, should we ever feel that we need that consulting, we can still enter into that professional service, which I'm not sure that we need to make a recommendation for, but we could just enter into at any point. So I think that this one may be jumping the gun. I think I've walked through that.
Yeah, and wait and see who we actually get. We might not get anyone bid on it, which I know that'd be far-fetched, but I mean, we are crossing the bridge before we get there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I have all the faith in the world in Chantel and her office and Joe and myself, and Mr. Dodson as well, that we could come up with what we believe to be the best decision, and if not, we can seek help at that point. Joe, that's a lot, placing a lot on your shoulders there.
So what do you want to do? You want to defer, strike?
Well, it's,
Table.
it's, oh, God. Don't say that word because it's used improperly. Yeah. It's a District 2 item, and how would you like to handle that, your item?
So this is a special meeting. When's the next scheduled meeting in Policy and Government?
That would be 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Which will be the 14th.
That's not right. It's not 2 weeks from tomorrow. It is a week from tomorrow.
Week from
right?
tomorrow. Which is plenty of time for y'all to consider this again before she even has responses to the RFP. or the
Well, and I
bid
would,
opening.
once we open up all the responses, and the bidding is closed, everybody is free to, let me rephrase that. Chantel, when the bids are opened, will you send this committee a copy of each one of the bid proposals?
Absolutely.
They're public.
I know that.
I know you know.
Yeah, I'm just,
For those that don't,
for those that are, the two people that are watching online from foreign lands,
I knew that you knew that you knew that.
yeah. So what do we want to do? We want to,
Yeah, I'll withdraw the motion. Or I mean, I'm shut down. I think there's plenty of time to consider that in the future.
so an appropriate
Hold
one
this.
would probably just be a motion to strike, and if you wish to bring it back at a later date, you can do so.
So moved.
second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Heard the turtles here. Citizen participation, is there any citizens signed up anywhere to speak? Nothing at all. Why did nobody come to speak to this enjoying meeting? Board comments. Mr. Dodson.
None.
Mr. Blau. The only comment that I would have is that I've noticed that we have taken off our may appear remotely. And if I'm correct, I think we're still able to do that according to state law. If I'm not, but that might be something that we need to look at in the future of our meetings and possibly being able to remote into our meetings again. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seeing no objections, that'll be the order.